Hey, it's Stephanie here. How's it going out there? I am on my way to a networking event, and I don't like networking. I dread it, actually. But over the years, I've learned to adapt and like it a little bit better. And so I actually have 3 tips for you if you are like me and you dread marketing networking events. Tip 1, stop selling. As a salesperson, we feel like all we can do is sell, sell, sell. But the truth of the matter is, networking events aren't for selling. They're for making connections. I have a story to tell you. So I was 6 years into my sales career, and I was at a networking event, and someone told me, just out of the blue, "I like you so much better since you stopped selling to me." And that really shocked me because, to be honest with you, I liked me better since I stopped selling to them. And it wasn't even like an intentional thing. I hate to admit it, but the only reason I wasn't actively selling to them was because they weren't my prospect anymore. And I built this relationship and I really liked them, and so I was just talking to them, learning to connect with them instead of just constantly selling. And they really opened my eyes to what I'd been doing wrong at these networking events, and one of the reasons I dreaded them so much. So that person changed my life, and I think that person knows who she is. So thank you. Tip number 2 is, if you're worried about the small talk, because I'm not a small talk person either, if you're worried about the small talk, then what you want to do is you want to come up with a question or something that you can use to break the ice. So today's networking event, I'm going to ask if they watched the NCAA game last night, or if they're into basketball, if they're into baseball, or whatever it might be, since it's baseball season now. I've done it many a times, and I always have at least one question. Think of it as this: a question you would ask a friend because you're genuinely interested in what they have to say, that would be appropriate for a business setting as well. So I was at a holiday party, and I asked one time, what is the holiday tradition that you like the most, or that you do? And that was so refreshing and eye-opening, and I was genuinely interested. And what it did was it just broke the ice, and it created an opportunity to connect on a much deeper level than how's the weather or how's business, I'm so busy, crazy busy, or whatever. And one particular instance, I found out this gentleman, he was an older gentleman, his mother had been gone for a really long time, and he said he really missed her homemade cinnamon rolls that were as big as your head, and he really missed that on Christmas morning. And I didn't forget that. And a few days later, I had no need or interest or whatever to set a meeting with this person, but I delivered a bakery fresh cinnamon roll as big as my head right before Christmas. And I'll tell you what, that relationship is one that I treasure to this day. And it's something that I would have never uncovered had I stuck to, how's the weather, or are you crazy busy like we all are. So tip number 2 was to ask a question that you're genuinely interested in the answer, that you would ask a friend. Tip number 3 is, the only time that sales isn't a numbers game is at a networking event. Sales is not a numbers game at a networking event. You definitely need to treasure quality over quantity. And don't forget about your vendor friends either. There was a time where I was afraid if one of my bosses found me talking to another vendor instead of a client, that I would be in trouble. But my vendor friends have become some of my best contacts, and we're in and out of the industry, and it's amazing how those relationships have definitely flourished over the years. So don't be afraid to talk to your vendor friends, and treasure quantity over quality. Get the information, have those meaningful conversations. If you walk away from the conversation thinking that it went really well, you probably did most of the talking. So my other advice, it's a bonus on the top 3, is to let your customer or your connection do most of the talking, and learn about them and listen to them. And then shoot them a little LinkedIn request afterwards that says, hey, it was so nice to meet you, thank you so much, and, go Reds, or whatever it might be. So at the end of the day, the top 3, just to recap: number 1, stop selling. Number 2, have a question ready to go so you can break the ice and you feel more comfortable. And number 3 is, think about quantity over quality when it comes to these network events. If I walk away with 5 really great conversations versus 25 meaningless business cards, I'm happy now. So I don't dread networking as much, and hopefully you don't either. Thanks so much for joining me. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Sabrina. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.